am joined by Chloë Doucet, who is currently based in Toronto. Her album, Sincerely, is out now, and we'll talk all about it. Thank you so much for being here, Chloë.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on this record. What was your experience producing it?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It was mostly just so fun and inspiring getting to work with a lot of the people that I got to work with. So some of my collaborators were members of the band Zeus, which is one of my favorite bands. They're based in Toronto, and they have 3 front people, and they all write and sing and play multiple instruments. So making the record with them was just super inspiring and fun. My producer, Gus Van Gogh, was super creative and generous with his time, and we just had a great time.
When it came to the studio sessions, did you come in already with songs you had in mind, or was you guys collaborated all together to build these?
Yeah, I definitely came in with a lot of songs already written. And then a big part of the process was selecting what were going to be the right songs. And I sort of purposefully went in with the songs in sort of a bare bones state where they had melodies and chords and lyrics, but I was really open to collaboration when it came to the arrangements, and I wanted the input. I wanted to kind of get our hands dirty together and change the songs based on the skills and knowledge that my collaborators had.
Who were your music inspirations for this record?
So specifically, the Strokes were a big inspiration when it comes to instrumentation. I love that band, and I love the way that the instrumentation is almost always just 2 guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. And I really love the minimalism and the focus on guitars and the way the bass lines and guitars and vocals sort of all work together. So this was a big kind of goal for me to sort of emulate some of that. And I wanted to keep the instrumentation sort of minimalistic in that way.
Awesome. And where does someone like the Beatles fall into your music inspirations?
Sure. They're huge for me. As a little kid, as young as 3, I was just obsessed with the Beatles. I had their catalog on CD, and I would play them on my little kind of portable CD player. And I learned all the lyrics, and I really feel like I learned a lot about harmonies and music, and just through learning to sing Beatles songs growing up. And I think the songwriting style has permeated a lot of what I do, and my focus on melody.
Awesome. So we're going to jump into a couple songs that I love from the album. So I want to start with this lyric from The Truth. I think it's so clever. I know that look in your eyes, and it's not 'cause we're both Geminis. It's only natural to do whatever you're proud of. What is the meaning behind this one?
Okay, good question. So this is somewhat of an inside, not an inside joke, but somewhat of a bit of a nod to friends of mine who I don't believe in astrology personally, and so I often kind of get into these conversations with friends who are into astrology, and so this is a bit of a cheeky nod to, because I'm a Gemini, and it's just sort of a cheeky nod to just because people have something in common doesn't necessarily mean that it's because of astrology. It can be all kinds of other reasons, such as emulating somebody that you know and love. So this lyric is about somebody in my life who I share an astrological sign with, and I feel that we have a lot in common due to emulating them.
So another song I want to ask you about is Take Your Time. What is the message of that song?
I think the title of the song really kind of sums it up in its simplest form, which is just that I think it's easy to kind of rush through things in life, perhaps more now than ever before. We're very overstimulated. We're very inundated with information and content at all times. And I think it's a reminder to myself and perhaps others to just slow down and enjoy it, enjoy the moment.
I love it, especially like that first verse really hooked me because you're like kind of giving the analogy of like, making a meal and the hard work it takes to prepare it, and then it's all gone in a second. I'm like, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Oh, I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, so there's so much detail in the production and the lyrics. Which one came first for you when working on these songs?
So the lyrics were mostly fully formed when I went into the studio to record these songs. They've changed very little in the process. Other things about the songs changed, like the structures and, moving parts of the songs around and changing the arrangements. But lyrically, they were quite complete, aside from a few very minor things that we would have workshopped together in the studio.
So how did growing up in a musical family influence your passion for music?
Well, I think it's a funny thing when you're surrounded by something, it just sort of feels natural. I got to see firsthand what a career in music could look like. I have several professional musicians in my family, so I've gotten to kind of see that from a few different angles. And yeah, I think in some ways it demystifies music in a way that makes it feel less glamorous and less exciting, and makes it feel more accessible. But in another sense, there's sort of a passing of the torch, where it feels sort of like a piece of my heritage, to continue on with this sort of family tradition. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I really enjoy sharing music with many members of my family. My grandpa's a wonderful guitar player. Him and I play together. My little brother's a musician, learning to play piano. He's 10 years old, and yeah, so it's really just a joy to get to share that with my family.
What was your musical journey like growing up?
Well, just starting out with really my love of the Beatles and other artists too. I've always been like a bit of an obsessive music listener. Like when I like something, I really like it a lot and I listen to it over and over and over. So like Cyndi Lauper was another one of these artists that I just like went like crazy listening to her music, and I loved No Doubt, and Liz Phair is another one of my kind of influences that I had growing up, and I just always kind of had this like intense love for the music that I loved, and that really inspired me to want to write songs. And so growing up, I played piano. I took piano lessons, which I think was a great way to start kind of understanding music, because piano is so linear and visual. So I don't actually play piano much these days, but I do appreciate that I was able to learn piano as a kid. So thanks to my parents for that. But yeah, and then as I kind of entered teenhood, I started playing guitar more and writing songs more. And yeah, I just always felt like I wanted to write the kind of songs that could make people feel the way that my favorite songs made me feel. And that still feels like kind of an ultimate core, or like an ultimate goal. I want to help people feel things. And so, yeah, writing songs that feel like emotional and tender, and exuberant and exciting, is part of the process and the goal for me.
Amazing. Yeah. So talk about actually, pursuing music. What was that like?
Oh, sure. So pretty much straight out of high school, I started working in restaurants and bars and playing open mics and playing in bands. So I'm 28 now. So for the last decade, I've been pretty much doing the same thing. Yeah, like playing in bands and writing tunes. So I was a member of a band called Side Hustle for about 4 years, and we put out some music that I'm really proud of, played a lot of shows around Toronto. And then my solo project had its sort of genesis, I guess, about 8 years ago. I put out a solo EP and then sort of shifted my focus to Side Hustle. And then in the last 3-4 years, sort of since the pandemic, I dove back kind of headfirst into my solo project. And that's been really fun and rewarding working more independently in the sense that I really hold the keys to this project. I don't have to necessarily ask for anybody's permission or anybody else's, I don't need to get anyone's okay to do anything. I just do it, which is great. But then I also have like these collaborators. So I feel like I've kind of have the best of both worlds as a solo artist. And yeah, the past few years have just been full of playing a lot of shows around Toronto, and then also a few kind of here and there across Canada and farther afield.
So what's next for you?
What is next for me? At the moment, I'm still promoting and really pushing sincerely as much as I can. I want to get it into people's ears. I want it heard. So I'm applying for festivals for summer 2025. I'm applying for showcasing opportunities. I'm promoting the record, but I'm also really trying to kind of just rest and recover my mind and my creative energy. It's been a busy couple of years, which has been wonderful, but there's also like a point at which you have to sort of inhale in order to exhale. So I'm reading novels, I'm reading about philosophy, I'm reading about history, I'm listening to music. I'm really just immersing myself in absorbing creativity and art. And because for me, that's always been the best way to spark the genesis of a song. A song comes from a thought or an idea, or I get inspired by something. So yeah.
Yes, I get inspired by books or TV shows all the time when it comes to writing music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
So where can people find you?
Yeah, so my music's available on Bandcamp and Spotify and anywhere you stream things. And then I'm most active on Instagram. To follow me for like upcoming shows and whatever. Instagram is the best place to find that info.
Thank you so much, Chloe. It was such a pleasure to speak with you. The album Sincerely is out now, and it's a really great record. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, Amanda.